Chapter 6, The Love Frequency. Despite trying everything I could to learn and apply methods for growing a startup, it was impossible without funding. I would later learn that marketplaces are notoriously the hardest software companies to start and have success rates so low that even experienced entrepreneurs with unlimited funding would rather try to teach their cats to code. In the meantime, I was bouncing around from place to place with new roommates, wherever I could afford to live, which was mostly in sublets. From a home that housed homeless people in exchange for junkyard labor to a shared place in a coked out bisexual physical therapist condo who constantly sent me pictures of his bearskin erections from the room right next to mine. The months dissolved like sugar in rain, each one marking another zero on my sales ledger at the digital marketing job. I hadn't moved a single digital marketing package despite trying every method imaginable, and the CEO was starting to question my hire with increasing impatience. I'd managed to spark a few friendships in Denver, but most evenings found me alone in the fluorescent purgatory of the co working space, grinding through double shifts that barely kept my head above the rising tide of debt. I was drowning, yet again, in the most mundane and useless of realities. By midsummer, the darkness returned, heavy. Even the Rockies themselves, those timeless monuments that had called to dreamers and broken hearts since the world was young, couldn't penetrate the fog settling over my soul. My eyes had long forgotten how to see beauty. Then one day, I received a call from my Canadian friend from back in my Korea days, Elliot, telling me about an upcoming event he was attending called Shambhala. It's a legendary electronic music festival nestled in the pristine forest of British Columbia, where bass drops echoed off mountain peaks and 20,000 souls gathered to lose themselves in 4 days of psychedelic frenzy. I've been diving deep into research about psychedelics and their miraculous ability to rewire neural pathways with a single dose. Being the eternal optimist when it came to life hacks, I convinced myself this was my golden ticket back to mental stability. One trip to reset the factory settings on my broken brain. So I boarded a plane to Vancouver, linked up with Elliot, and drove 8 hours into the Canadian wilderness to reach this promised land of electronic enlightenment. On the drive there, I told him about my recent mental health struggles, and I felt a genuine human love and compassion for him. We bonded and cried and belly laughed until our sides ached. A growing excitement for being alive was creeping into my system. It's a new feeling for me. God, I told him, I hadn't felt this good in months, maybe years. That warmed his heart because he too was navigating his own particular life implosion. For both of us, it was revelatory to be seen and heard again, to remember that underneath all the performance and protection, we were still capable of genuine connection. He was showing me through his presence, and I to him through mine, that there are actually people out there who can love you and don't need you to be fixed and to find you worthy of their time and attention. Human love felt good to experience again. Yet it was years later when I would see that this human love paled in comparison to the boundless love of God, the love of beingness, the divine love that requires nothing and gives everything. These two kinds of love operate in two vastly different realms. Eva, for example, on the precipice of dissolving into pure consciousness only several years into her path, realized that her attachment to human love was the last barrier between her and ultimate reality. The love that poured in when I finally surrendered was so immense and unconditional, she said. It showed me how even my deepest human love before was like a drop of water compared to the boundless ocean of love and pure beingness. Human love, by contrast, comes with fine print. Consider the friend who loves your company when you're confident and entertaining, but distances themselves when you become insecure and needy. The wife who adores you when you're strong and decisive, but loses respect when you show weakness or uncertainty. Or the pastor who says he loves you when you're attending church, but becomes judgmental and disappointed if you leave the faith. If authentic love is the soul's primary nourishment, and we're starving on a diet of conditional acceptance, It's no wonder we're anxious, depressed, and constantly searching for something to fill the void that nothing seems to satisfy. Dogs represent perhaps the closest thing to unconditional love we encounter in daily life. Lock your dog and your partner in the trunk of a car for an hour and see who's happy to see you when you open it. Truly man's best friend. The purest experiences of unconditional love I've encountered never came from romantic relationships. They came from my dog, Eddie, Campbell, my parents, my sister, Anna, and from various masters and high level seekers who graced my path. That's it. End of list. Not from girlfriends whose love evaporated when I changed, not from family members whose affection came so long as I was not bashing Catholicism. The brutal truth is that unconditional love is so rare among humans that when you finally encounter it, you realize how much of what you called love was actually an elaborate transaction disguised as devotion. Certain awakened individuals carry this unconditional love frequency so powerful that it radiates from their very being. You can literally feel it penetrating your heart and soul, creating an almost physical sensation that makes you think, holy cow, this is what love actually feels like. Being in their presence produces something akin to a mild MDMA experience. That same heart opening, boundary dissolving recognition of pure connection. When I met Campbell at a private event he hosted, his mere presence left me feeling completely liberated and unconditionally cherished, despite the fact that I was a complete stranger to him. Here was someone so attuned to love's authentic frequency that just standing nearby caused every protective wall around my heart to simply melt away. When I hugged him goodbye at the end of the event, it was like my entire being exhaled, exhaled for the first time, like being held by someone who saw straight through to my essence and loved what they found there. The closer I got to him, the more concentrated the love frequency became. And when I wrapped my arms around him, my heart chakra started expanding and my pulse quickened. That exact sensation you get during the come up of MDMA when your chest opens and the world becomes electric. I wanted to cry tears of recognition, that soul deep sob that erupts when you suddenly understand what you've been missing your whole existence. My God, it was so thick. His energy is so profound that other people broke down on stage in tears after hugging him. They, like me, had no idea how far we've driven from unconditional love. Only when we encountered the authentic version do we feel the devastating gap between what we thought love was and what it actually is. People have reported feeling this phenomena around figures like Eckhart Tolle, Don Miguel Ruiz, Neem Karoli Baba, Papaji, Ramana Maharshi, and Nisargadatta Maharaj, among many others in history. This happens because these individuals have transcended the ego's need for conditions, expectations, and reciprocity. They dissolve the barriers that create conditional love in the first place. The fears, the judgments, and survival mechanisms that make ordinary humans withdraw affection when their needs aren't met. Their love doesn't depend on your behavior, your beliefs, your usefulness, or even your response to them. It flows like sunlight, warming everything in its path without discrimination. Much to my surprise, the further I went on the path, the more I began to notice not all enlightened people emit this frequency in ways that are universally perceivable. The transmission seems to depend on some mysterious compatibility between their particular vibration and your receptivity. I might feel nothing special around one healer, while others describe profound experiences of love in their presence. It's as if different awakened beings broadcast on different frequencies, and our individual receivers are tuned to pick up only certain signals. This doesn't diminish the reality of the transmission. It simply reveals the complex, ineffable nature of how love moves from one person to another. There are gradations to this frequency too. And even among spiritual masters, most don't radiate it through mere presence. It usually requires direct transmission. Only the rarest of the awakened emit such a powerful field that even someone completely untrained in energy work can immediately sense it. I encountered an awakened being who appeared to be nothing more than a broken down man in his 60s, unkempt, hollowed eyed, resembling someone who had just surrendered to life's defeats and was merely counting down his remaining days. You'd walk past him on the street thinking he was just another casualty of life, never realizing you just encountered one of the most awakened beings in England. He admitted he was checked out and done with Earth, but not in a depressed way. He doesn't feel depression, but more in a I've seen through the entire game and no longer feel compelled to play kind of a way. However, the Shakti wake you the hell up energy he could directly transmit, which is fundamentally different from the energy that naturally emanates from someone's field, was so powerful that three of my master friends said he was instrumental in their fast track road to Brahman consciousness. You see, love operates like any other energy. It exists on a spectrum of intensity and purity. Some people naturally emit love like a tuning fork struck at the perfect frequency, their presence alone capable of melting the defensive armor others have worn for decades. These rare individuals have learned to keep their heart channels completely open, unobstructed by the usual filters of judgment, fear, and self protection. When you encounter them, your nervous system recognizes something it's been starving for: pure, unfiltered acceptance and compassion. Their love frequency is so high, it can be overwhelming, literally requiring recovery time as your body adjusts to operating at a vibration it's forgotten was possible. Most people emit love in fragments, their frequency dampened by layers of conditioning, trauma, and protective mechanisms. They love conditionally, strategically, defensively, turning the flow on and off based on whether they feel safe, appreciated, or validated in return. This isn't their fault. It's simply where they are in the healing journey. Others operate at such low love frequencies, they've almost forgotten how to access it at all. Their hearts so armored by disappointment and betrayal that love feels like a foreign language they once spoke, but can no longer remember. The beautiful, soul warming truth is that everyone, and I mean everyone, has the capacity for high frequency love. It's simply a matter of how much inner work, whether it's transmissions, energy healings, surrendering, etc., they're willing to do to clear the blockages that dim their natural radiance, that which comes from your true being.